Hey there everyone, it's Joe from Bullion Now, bullionnow.com.au, selling you the very best bullion bars and coins shipped to you worldwide from Melbourne in Australia. This is your weekly precious metals technical analysis where we take a look at the big four, of course, gold, silver, platinum and palladium. Now I did say weekly technical analysis, but last week it didn't happen. We were so busy in the store processing orders from the big sale that we had, the Black Friday to Cyber Monday sale, just really busy in the store, so we decided to leave it be for last week. But here we are this week, finally getting to it on Friday the 13th of December 2019. So we need to track back very quickly and have a look where we were back then. So this was posted on November the 28th. Wow, it's a number of days ago now. November 28th, this is where we were in gold. In both gold and silver, in the last analysis, I was saying that I was 51%, or just I had a bias to the downside. I was neutral for a few weeks, then I shifted it to a bias to the downside, basically saying I think we're going to see lower prices before we break out and go into, the next bull run. So let's take a look at gold. We were last time, so on November 28th, we were hovering about 1457 and 80 cents. So 1458. We come off this low here of about 1445 roughly. And let's see what's happened since then. So if I pop down into the daily is a good idea, because that was the daily as well, and that was hovering around about here. And since then, we have not seen a lowering in the prices just yet. I don't think we're out of the woods just yet, though. But we did have a rise all the way up to, and interestingly, I did draw in this trend line between these 2 points. We came all the way up right here to a high so far of 1486 roughly. This is in US dollars, of course, keep that in mind. And since we have had a tracking back down, I'm not going to flip-flop and say we're heading back up from here, because I don't think we're out of the woods just yet. And I'm not going to flip-flop and say we're neutral, so I'm going to, just for non-flip-flopping sake, I'm going to stick with lower prices from here, as in lower than this price right here, 1445, before we then eventually, which we will, over the longer term, head back up again. So I still think there is more room to move down. If we take a look at this on the weekly, now the weekly wouldn't suggest that, because we're in very much oversold territory on the weekly time frame. We've been in oversold territory for quite a while now, since about the end of September. But if we take a look on the daily, the monthly, we are still in the sort of overbought-ish territory. Not really overbought, but just sort of hovering towards the top end of that. And so that's why I'm just going to stick for now. And of course, I will be very happy to be wrong as well, but I'll stick for now that we may see lower prices from here. And where would we move down to? Here's the weekly. Again, of course, we would, if punching through that 1445 level, we would be hitting up against this level right here, some area of support. You might find that before possibly even moving further down. And of course, the next area I was talking about is all the way down here, this trend line right here, which goes through these key previous lows, that one and that one. That's where I think we would possibly bottom out at the absolute bottom. So I do think lower prices are still possibly on the horizon, but in order to say definitely for sure, let me get rid of that, we would just have to, let me take it to the daily, we would have to see a clear move down to and past this level here of 1445. As I said, I would be very happy to be wrong, and opposite indication to say that we're definitely moving higher, I would say, is if we break up again through this level here of 1480, then we're definitely on our way up from there. But as I said, I won't flip-flop. I will still stay with a bias to the downside in gold. Now let's take a look at silver. Silver has done what I thought it would do. And back here, let's see if I can find it right here somewhere. Where's that? Silver. And here we are. This is on silver. Okay, so I have been talking about what I thought would be lower prices from about this level here. So that was at about $16.70 in US dollar terms. We were floating around sort of this kind of area when I made that call that I think we might see lower prices from here. And I gave the two targets of these ones right here, that $16.20 level might be the bottoming out target, and the very, very lowest target I think we would reach would be about $15.50, give or take a few cents. Now, since then, we have seen a further dip in the price, so definitely directionally correct in terms of heading further down, and that was in the last couple of weeks, and we've had a low so far of $16.50, so not all the way down to $16.20, but again, I don't think we're out of the woods, but we did have this rise, a pretty quick rise, all the way back up to over $17 and back within this triangle right here. As you can see, that this descending triangle pattern right there. And again, my personal feeling is that we are not out of the woods just yet. We would definitely need to see it break above this trend line right here. And if we did that in the next, let me take that back to say the weekly. If we did that in the next week, or this week, if we did that this week, which is, fast coming up to the end of it, we would have to see pretty much a clear break of 1750 to declare further lower prices. Definitely not going to happen, but not out of the woods in my opinion. Let's pop back down to the daily. And a clear break, I would say, of approximately, this level here. If we broke 1665 again, then I would say we would be heading down further. So I'm just going to stay, again, biased to the downside on silver. Let's take a look at on the monthly, because we are still in that overbought territory as well. So my calls for both gold and silver are still to bias to the downside. Again, none of this is financial advice, of course. You shouldn't be listening to a single word I say. I'm just giving you what my personal feeling is based on the technical analysis as I see it. You may have a different analysis, you may use different indicators, etc., and you may be way more correct than me. So again, take everything I say with a grain of salt. And of course, I'm not giving specific timeframes. I'm not saying it's going to go lower by the end of a certain date. I just think we're going to see lower prices from here before we see the big move, or the continual big move up to previous all-time highs, which is eventually going to come. That's why we're all investing in the precious metals, of course. I am going to skip them on the Australian dollar time frame again, just for time frame's sake, because we've got a lot of stuff here to do in the store. Let's take a look at platinum. Now that's in a nice, lovely rise. So my call on that, well, it wasn't really a call, I guess. I was just staying neutral in the last analysis. Let's see. Where are we? Platinum, I think that's XPT. We're around about your sort of $900 level. And because we had not broken out of this little triangle pattern right here, I was just staying neutral for now. We definitely broke out of that though, as you can see. And that one, if I can show you where that was, I have gotten rid of it. But that was this little one right here, I believe. This is where I'd drawn in a triangle pattern from here. And I said that it would make its breakout, I think sometime between the second or the third or the fourth. I think I said it would be the maximum time frame, and it broke out on the third, broke well above that, so that was a definite indicator that we were going to see higher prices from there, although I didn't make that call because I didn't make a video last week. But as you can see, we came up to this previous level of resistance here at 915, all the way back down to 884, and now suddenly we've just had this massive gain, all the way back up almost to this previous level of $955. So things are looking very positive for platinum. So I can confidently say now, definitely a bias to the upside. I don't think we're going to see lower prices from here. That's what I'm trying to say. So you remember how I said over the last number of weeks, I didn't think we would break that 870 level. Now, technically, I was wrong on that technically, and when I'm wrong, I'll definitely call that I'm wrong, and I was wrong because we did break that 870 level and we came down to 865. I did revise it and say I didn't think we'd ever break this trend line again to the downside, and I definitely don't see that happening now at all, ever again. Well, I can't say ever again because I don't know how long I'm going to live, but not for the foreseeable future, that is, because we've seen this lovely rise back up. It topped out so far at about $950. Now, bear in mind, when you do break a trend line like we have right here, it does tend to come back and visit the trend line at least once. So after coming up to 950, I would expect, it wouldn't surprise me if we had a little bit of a dip, maybe just back down to this level here at around about that previous high of about $927, $930, because we've had such a lovely rise from $890 all the way up to $950, and some sellers are going to take advantage of that, particularly, the day traders, the weekly traders, etc. So a move down to here before we continue either sideways or continuing up, that wouldn't surprise me at all. So don't panic if it does break down back to about sort of 930. Don't panic with that at all. So very bullish now on platinum, definitely out of the neutral call from last times analysis, and so we will see, I think, a consolidatory pattern for a little bit, maybe trading a bit sideways and then continue up. So if we're continuing up, let's talk about the next targets. Quickly take a look maybe on the monthly. Now we are in overbought territory on the monthly, but I still see a move higher first. So I think we could move all the way up to approximately anywhere between, and this is again my personal opinion, I would say anywhere between this level here of 1050 and this level here of about 1090. And if we go absolute gangbusters, then we would butt up against this long-term trend line right here, which is coming off the high of about 2200 roughly. But bias now is to the upside in platinum. And finally, my good friend Palladium, we are so close to that psychological value of $2,000 now. We're starting to creep up to, calling it just watch out for little dips. So definitely, let me get rid of that. And let me get rid of that. We're starting to head, if you can look down here, we're starting to head into overbought territory, but we're not quite there yet. We haven't peaked above it just yet. The last time we did was in January this year, where we had that dip back down, and now we've just been on this great little bull run all the way up. So if you've been following these technical analysis videos, of course, I've been talking about the psychological value of $2,000, and we're so close to it now. We had technically a high of on this particular chart of $1964.50, $1,964.50 in US dollar terms. I think we could push up to the $2,000 mark, possibly even a little pierce above. Always take into account the psychological value. If a psychological value has never been hit before, it's more likely to possibly see some resistance at that point. And you may see just a small amount of resistance rather than a huge dip. But my call for quite a while has been a large range, and I apologize for that large range, but it's anywhere between 2,200 to about 2,600. And that $2,600 mark is based on Fibonacci levels of the previous old high here of about 1085 and this previous old low of about 145. And then what you see here is the 2.618 Fibonacci level of $2,608. We just comfortably call it around $2,000 and $2,600. And also, if you take a look at the move from where it bottomed out here at about 835 and that rise all the way up to 1615, this move here from 1264 to 1964.50, it's not as large. So I think we do have a little bit of room to move higher, maybe landing somewhere in here before we do see a bit of a dip. But definitely we're on the move to between 2,000 and 2,600. It'll settle somewhere in between there, I'm assuming, before we see a retracement, which we will, of course, because sellers will want to take some profits. And I won't give lower targets for now. We'll wait to see what happens with Palladium, but definitely moving higher in my personal opinion. And I think that is it, unless we want to take a look also at the gold to silver ratio. And where are we here? Gold to silver ratio. There we go. We have, where are we landing right now? About 86.7. So this is on the monthly time frame. Take a look again on the weekly. Yeah, we're heading back up at the moment. We had a rise up to about 88.2. That's, I think, when we saw that dip in silver and we didn't see that dip in gold. So the gold to silver ratio was widening, and that's why you see the number rising. And with silver tracking back up a little bit, that's why you've seen this dip back down. I've been saying for a long time, and again, this is just a personal feeling and it's not financial advice, that we may see a rise back up to that 100 to 1 level, because it's happened twice now in recorded history, and why wouldn't it happen a third time? We're so close. It may happen if gold has a big run before silver follows. You never know, that could happen. So just keep that in the back of your mind as well. I'm going to keep it nice and short and sharp. So of course, head over to youtube.com/Bullion Now, a subscriber base now of 1,670 awesome team winners. You're on the winning team, people. So congratulations. I hope you get that warm, fuzzy feeling every time you watch a video. And you'll get a warm, fuzzy feeling when you hit the big red subscribe button right there. And of course, head over to bullionnow.com.au, selling you, of course, all the best bullion bars and coins shipped to you worldwide from Melbourne in Australia. That's it, gang. Take care, stay safe, and I'll speak to you soon.